A wonderful morning to everyone who has joined today. From ManageEngine family, we would like to extend our warm welcome and sincere thanks to all our customers, partners, and users who are interested in our solutions. Endpoint management and security is one of the main focus areas of ManageEngine. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Danya, and I'm a product specialist with ManageEngine. I take care of endpoint management products, including Desktop Central. I'm a seasoned technical support engineer, assisting customers in their implementation, consultation, and troubleshooting in case of challenges. In today's webinar, we will focus on endpoint management solution, which have different portfolios under management and security. During today's session, we will be discussing Desktop Central Suite, which has these management and security capabilities. Once again, welcome to Desktop Central training, focusing on how to tune your Desktop Central to adopt the distributed workforce. Let's look at the training schedule now. We're on week 3, which is software deployment. This is one of the modules of our endpoint management and security suite. We had patch management on the first week. Followed by that, we had the security add-on session, and we are currently running on week 3. In case if you have missed our last training schedules, you can always view them on the link that is shown in the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to enroll to our upcoming trainings, you may use the same URL to register yourself. We are also offering a certificate of participation for our attendees, and it includes a series 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is going to be conducted over a period of June 16th to July 21st of 2021. For more details on this certification, you may step into the URL that is shown on the screen. You'll be getting more details on it. Let's look at software management today. Let me quickly walk you through the agenda for today's webinar. We will be starting with the overview of Desktop Central, then how to manage the users in distributed environment, and to know the non-compliant applications in their endpoints. Followed by that, let's have a look at tracking updates of business application using software deployment templates, and deploying a new commercial application, and how to publish a software for non-admin users using a feature called self-service portal. Then we will be having a look at the architecture behind how Desktop Central works. And let's wind up the session with few real-time scenarios and frequently asked questions with respect to the software deployment. During the training, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat window. I have an expert panel team with me who is ready to answer all your questions. So let's start with the overview of Desktop Central. Desktop Central is an endpoint management solution that ensures all your endpoints are secure and enables the user to use them effectively for business. A popular research analyst called Forrester defines UEM as follows: products that provides a centralized policy engine for managing and securing employee laptops and mobile devices from a single console. In unified endpoint management, you can manage your endpoints in a traditional IT management fashion. This includes patch management, application management, configuration deployment, OS deployment, tools for troubleshooting, and the day-to-day management activities. Similarly, endpoints can also be managed with the modern management. So all modern operating systems like Windows 10 will be supporting the modern management. It supports features like geo-tracking, geo-fencing, managing the store applications, profile distribution to enforce a restriction, operating system recovery, and reset features. Now, Desktop Central as a unified endpoint management edition can handle all your endpoints from device provisioning towards a vulnerability assessment, ensuring its security and supports analytical data and comprehensive reports. Hence, with Desktop Central, you will be able to manage your desktops, laptops, mobile phones, tablets, servers, point of sale devices, and browsers. All these from a single management console. Here are some of a recognition for the trust that our customers have on our product. ManageEngine is recognized in the 4 top IDC MarketScape reports of UEM 2021, which is a worldwide endpoint management software 2021 for vendor assessment, software for Apple devices, software for small and medium sized business 2019 to 2020, software for ruggedized or Internet of Things 2020. Desktop Central is also recognized for Best Unified Endpoint Management Tool of 2019 as reviewed by our customers in Gartner Peer Insights Customer Choice Award. We are recognized for the client division, client management tool division in Magic Quadrant for the second consecutive year. We are recognized for the security and the modern management. Let's look at the components that you need for this application to run. So I have listed the essential as well as the optional components here. The Desktop Central server is the central component that you will install. It provides you with an interface to the management console. The agent is also an essential component you need to install on the machines that you would like to manage with Desktop Central. There is another component called notification server. It's an interesting one. We'll look into in detail when we get into the product. Now, when we look into the optional components, we have distribution server, which serves as a repository for patches, software, scripts that you're going to deploy onto the machines in a remote office. We can create unique replication policies for each location as per the bandwidth requirement. Then we have secure gateway server. This is useful if you're going to manage machines that are not a part of your local area network or the machines that are connecting over internet. So it will be an essential add-on during your work from home scenario to manage the roaming endpoints. So a secure gateway server is a server that bridges the agent traffic to the Desktop Central server securely, which connects over the internet. We also have a failover server. In case you want to have high availability, you can make use of this. So this has to be separately licensed. And you can also use a language pack to list your web console in your preferred languages. With Desktop Central, we support 3 operating systems: Windows, Mac, and Linux. And this is a list of operating systems which we support. So primarily, the Desktop Central server runs on the Windows platform, but you can manage the endpoints that have the Windows, Mac, or the Linux flavors by installing an agent component in them. So the functionality might vary among different operating systems. You can always reach our support team at desktopcentral-support@manageengine.com in case you have any questions with the supported operating systems. So now, with respect to the current distributed environment, what will be the challenges that is faced by an enterprise when it comes to deploying the software? I have listed a few frequent cases we have encountered recently. The very first thing is an organization should make sure all the business related applications are available for an end users. And they also need to ensure that the end users are not installing any prohibited applications which can mess up their business apps. And to manage the help desk request, how a technician can effectively manage that, we will also be looking at those scenarios. So first, let's get familiarized with the architecture of how software deployment works with Desktop Central. Using Desktop Central, software can be deployed to your local area network as well as the wide area network. Most important thing to deploy your software is you should have a package created first. So to store that package, we provide you two different types of repositories, which is a network share and a HTTP or HTTPS repository. If you chose the storage method as network share for the deployment, then the client machines will reach the share location and execute the installables from here. You need to ensure that the share should be accessible from all the client computers. The other one is HTTP or HTTPS repository, which is more appropriate for deploying software to wide area network. The package which you create by uploading an installable from your local computer and the package which you create from a software deployment template of Desktop Central is downloaded to this HTTP or HTTPS repository. So these packages is downloaded to the client computers on local area network for deployment. When it comes to a wide area network, the distribution server will download and it will distribute it to the clients, which is under the distribution server. So why we have two different repositories here? So let me explain you that with a quick difference comparison. Network share is more suitable for local area network, where there is no limit to the package size that you deploy. Whereas HTTP, you can deploy it to local area as well as the wide area network. Up to 7 GB of package can be uploaded to the HTTP repository. If you want to deploy a package which is more than 7 GB to a remote site, you can contact our support. We will be helping you with a workaround to achieve it. And the network share requires a setup and maintenance because it could be easily vulnerable to threats if not maintained properly, whereas HTTP repository doesn't require any maintenance. Now let's get into the Desktop Central console and let me show you where to configure these repositories. So this is the management console of Desktop Central. We need to step into Desktop Central software deployment section. Under settings, you have software repository. So where you have the network share and HTTP. By default, we will be providing a location which you can make use of a share by saving it. Or if you have your own share where you will be securing your packages, you can choose an existing share and update your location. If that location is secured with the credentials, yes, we provide you an option to update that so that whenever a deployment is happening, the agent will be taking the credentials from the backend and it will be reaching the share for the file execution. You don't have to provide the details to end users. And then we have the HTTP repository, which comes with the default location in your Desktop Central server install folder. And we provide you an option to customize that as well. So this is where we have our repository and this is how we configure it. Let's get back to the presentation. Now, are you ready to manage the distributed workforce? So we'll get into the scenario cases. So now we have John and his IT team, and he's managing around 10,000 computers across the globe. All his users are working from home, where few users are connected via VPN, few of them still communicating over internet, directly via secure gateway, and few internet users are included under the remote offices as well. And now they are working from home. So as mentioned, there are three types of users you see. One is the regular VPN user who will be usually connected to a corporate network via VPN even before the lockdown situation. Then we have users who are now using VPN because of the work from home scenario, for whom we need to ensure the security policies and We're also not sure about the bandwidth in their environment. Next, we have the internet users who usually work with a cloud or internet-based applications, and they will be reaching Desktop Central over the internet. For this kind of environment, an IT admin will be facing a lot of challenges in managing it, while enabling work from home to securely manage the devices that are in work from home. So the things you see on the screen are the most common challenges which was faced by an IT administrator under this scenario. And when the users are back to office, we need to ensure that their devices are back to the compliance that is defined by the organization. So these are all the challenges that a technician will be facing when it comes to the work from home and the back to office scenarios. So we will be looking on how to manage these in the upcoming slides. So a first task which is assigned to the IT team of John is create a report of non-compliant business application. So get your non-compliant business application on the endpoints, and the applications here are Microsoft Teams and Office 365. We'll get into the web console and we'll see how this report can be created. So to create a report of non-compliant applications, go to Admin, Custom Group, and create a new custom group. So we need to know the machines where these applications are installed. So go with the computer custom group. And here we have three different types of custom group. Static is a normal grouping where you can include your managed endpoints and create multiple groupings. When it comes to static unique, a machine that you have included on a static unique cannot be included in another static unique. Each group will be a unique group because we use this static unique group as a scope when you create a user with Desktop Central and delegate them the scope. So under user administration, when you add a user, static unique custom group will be a scope. So this will ensure none of the technician is being assigned with the same machine. So let's get back to our custom group. And the last one we have is a dynamic custom group. So this is what will help us with the requirement. So now I need to know the non-compliant application. That is a software name which is equal to Microsoft Teams and the software version which is not equal to the latest version. So I can include the software name and software version which is not equal to the latest version and save this. Now this will list me the computer where the latest version of application is not available. I have already created a custom group. Let me show you. So for Microsoft Teams, I have the list of machines where it is not installed. And similarly, for Office 365 as well, I have a list of machines where Office 365 is not installed. So in here, you have an option to export this report as well as a PDF, CSV, or an XLSX format. So you can pull it out as a report. And this grouping will be further helping us on the deployment case as well. We will look into it when we get into our next task. So this is how the first task will be achieved by getting the endpoints with the non-compliant applications. So our next task is related to the templates. So we have over 8,000 predefined application templates with Windows, Mac, and Linux under the Desktop Central software deployment. So the next task here is deploying Microsoft Teams application using these templates to a specific group of computers. So we have our group already created. Now let's see how we can deploy it to those groups. Let me get back to Web Console. So to start with software deployment, go to software deployment, templates. So first of all, what is a template? Nothing but based on the customer's use case inputs and their request, most commonly used non-commercial applications are collected. We'll be testing it and we'll be updating that under our templates. You have the application name, the version of it, it's an EXE or an MSI, which platform it belongs to, Windows, Mac, Ubuntu, or Debian, which we support. And from where you can download this particular package. The URL will be embed and the silent install argument to silently install and uninstall that application. So using Desktop Central, the package installation will be happening silently in the backend. So these are all the details that is updated under the template. Now, our task is to create a template for Microsoft Teams. So let's go to the search and search for the Teams. So here we have the Teams application available. I can select the application, the latest version, and I can go ahead and create a package. So this will be creating a package for Microsoft Teams, and I will be able to see the package under packages. So I have my package listed over here for Microsoft Teams. Now to deploy the package, let me select the package and go with install uninstall software. So if you're going to deploy it to a user, you may go with the user configuration. Our task is to deploy it to the endpoints, computers, where it is not compliant. So go ahead with the computer configuration here. So I have selected the package which is available, and it is an installation I'm going to perform. Please provide an appropriate name first, which will ensure that you will be able to track this application on a later stage. Now, this application will not be getting installed with the user privilege. If your user doesn't have a privilege, you don't have to worry, because we install it as a system account, the default Windows system account. So even if the user doesn't have a privilege, the installation will go through. In certain scenarios, when the application needs an elevated permission, then you may go with the run as user option, where you can select the domain credential of an admin and you may proceed with the installation. That is also feasible under the package deployment. Now, let's consider a scenario. Like before you deploy the Teams, you're assigned with another important task which needed to be completed first for the deployment, and then you have to proceed with Teams. So is there a way to schedule this task on the server? Yes, you have it. So you have an option, it's called scheduler settings, and this will let you to choose a start time for this configuration. I'm moving my task after a week. So even I deploy the task now, this task will be initiated on the July 7th, 9th of July only. Okay, so this is the server end schedule. How about the agent? Can I schedule at the agent end when it should get deployed? Yes, you can do that. So that can be done by the deployment policy. So in here, you can select the required deployment policy, which is predefinedly available. Else, you can go ahead and create your own policy. So let's get into one deployment policy and see what are all the options available under it. So first thing, the schedule. So when you want to deploy it, so which week of the month and which day of the week you want the deployment to happen, you can specify it. And within these timings, when the deployment should be happening. So like, let's take you need the deployment to be happening on the non-working hours. So you can provide the respective timing, like after noon, or you want till 2 to 7. So you want the deployment to be happening at this time. Yeah, you have provided the timing. Now, when this deployment should be initiated, when there is a startup happening or when there is a refresh cycle happening. So with respect to refresh cycle, that's a feature under the Desktop Central agent. So we'll have a detailed discussion on it when we go through the architecture of Desktop Central. Okay, so you can initiate the deployment on either of these timings as well. Now the timing has been defined. We have two pre-checks here. One is wake on LAN. So if the machine is in shutdown state, you can wake the machine up and you can proceed with the deployment. But ensure the wake on LAN prerequisites on the BIOS level should be enabled. Only then you will be able to go with it. And the next option we have is download patches or software during the subsequent refresh cycle. So for example, your schedule starts at 2 p.m. but you're creating your task at the morning 8 a.m. So you have plenty of hours in between. So during these hours, we have multiple 90 minutes interval refresh policy, which is going to happen. So during that refresh policy, subsequently the packages will be copied to the client. When it reaches 2 p.m., the deployment will be happening on the client. So it's for load balancing part, you can enable this. And then you have a user notification where you can notify the end user with a customized message on the deployment that is going to happen. Finally, you have a reboot policy. In case an application need a reboot, you can go to the reboot. You can go ahead with a forced reboot, or we have a postpone option where you can postpone the reboot. So once you postpone a reboot, the end user will be shown with a message stating that your machine needed to be rebooted with reboot now and postpone reboot option. So they will be having the privilege to postpone the reboot based on their working hours and proceed with the reboot once the reboot window appears again. So this is how you create a deployment policy. Here I have already created my deployment policy for Microsoft Teams. So I'm selecting it. Now the target. So there are chances my computers, which I have created under dynamic custom group in any of these remote office. So I'm selecting all the remote office and I have a filter icon, which will let me to select the dynamic custom group that I have created. So once it's done, my target is completed. Now I'll be deploying the Microsoft Teams to these set of computers. But later at a point when there is a new installation coming in, I don't want the task to get running at that period. So you can set an expiry to this task as well, how we schedule it. So there is an option called don't apply this configuration after specified time, which will set an expiry for this task. So for a month, you can have this task enabled and then it will be getting automatically expired. So all the targets are done. And then you have a retry option here. So for instance, if a package installation is getting failed, and that's because of a dependency for the package where a specified process has to be stopped before the installation. So retry on the startup will ensure that the application gets installed even before the process starts. So by this way, we can ensure that the probability of getting the application installed is higher. So you can increase the retry according to your need. And you also have a notification part here, so which will let you know the status of the configuration based on the timing that you're going to configure. So once all the settings are done, you can go ahead with an immediate deployment. So this deploy immediately, the on-demand task, is something which will be taken care by the notification server component, which we have seen under the component section. And then you can go ahead with the deploy. So deploy is something, if you go with the deploy, the configuration will be processed during the 90 minutes agent refresh interval. So this is how John and his team will be achieving their first task of deploying a Microsoft Teams application using templates. So we'll get into the next. Deploying a commercial application, which is Office 365 to a specific group of computers. Getting back to the desktop central console. So let's go back to the templates again. So the very first stop for the deployment, package deployment, is always templates. Go ahead, search if you have Office 365. Yes, we have Office 365, but it's not like the Teams. So since this is a commercial application, we provide you a URL with the steps on how to deploy this application. So we'll get into the document and see how the package deployment can be done for Office 365. So first, we need to download the deployment tool, extract its content, customize the installation file, and download the complete package. Only then you need to go ahead with the deployment. So from the Microsoft URL provided, I have already downloaded the Office deployment tool here. And how am I going to extract it? So in here, I have the command line to extract it. So I should be calling the deployment tool, and then I should be providing a destination path where the files needed to be extracted. So open a command prompt, and you need to enter the command where you need to have the extraction done. So I have my package under D, Office install, under D drive, and the deployment tool is here, and my destination is the same drive. So I have provided the details, and the files has been already extracted. So the extracted file will look something like this with your configuration XMLs and setup. So based on the package edition that we are going to deploy, we will be configuring this XML files, which is our next step. So customizing the installation. So you need to provide the respective product ID, professional or enterprise part, and the product key, and what are all the components needed to be included. Everything will be updated under your XML. So now your configuration XML is also ready. Once it is ready, you're ready to download the complete package. So to download the package, we again have a command line to call the setup file, which is extracted, and configuration file, which we have customized. So we will be updating the next command line where you'll be calling the setup exe, and with the download argument, we will be calling the XML file. So I'm calling my 64-bit XML file for Office 365. So this will download the complete package, which will be like this with a cap files, exe file, and a version file. Now our package is ready. We can go ahead with the deployment of the package. So the next step is to add the software package under Desktop Central. So let's see how the manual package can be added. So if something is not listed on templates for a direct creation, we need to go ahead with the manual package creation. So under Add Package, we have the package creation for Windows and Mac platform. So we'll get into Windows to create our package. So let's start with providing a proper name for the package. And we support the creation of MSI and EXE type application. So this is an EXE. I'm selecting it. And it is a commercial licensed application. I'm selecting it. Now you have two options to upload the files. First is the share folder. So if you have these packages placed on the share, you can simply browse through the share and you can select the setup file for installation. So if you're going to go with the share option, then we have the command line provided. We need to call the share path, call the setup exe with the configuration command, and then call the configuration XML file. Else, so we will be selecting it. We will be updating it over here. Or you need to deploy it to a work from home user over internet where the share access will not be feasible. Then you can get into local computer option where you can choose to upload your files. But since it is a huge package, we recommend you to select all the files and zip it first and then go ahead with the upload. Please don't create a folder. Select the files and zip it to go ahead with the upload. So I have already created the zip to go ahead with the upload. So once uploaded, you can simply call the setup exe with the configuration command, which will be performing the installation. So likewise, you will also be able to uninstall any application by providing the respective uninstall argument. And then we have an advanced settings where we have two important things. One is exit code. So whenever an application is getting installed, it will return an exit code which says the installation is success or not. So for most of the applications, 0 will be the success code. So when an agent returns 0, we will be marking the deployment as success. In certain scenarios, applications like SAP, the exit code is different for a successful installation. So when it returns its exit code, let's take 129. When Desktop Central is exit, it will be considering that as a failure because your package will have 0 by default. In such scenarios, you may go ahead and update the respective exit code here, which will provide you the right output. And you have a maximum time limit for installation, which is 2 hours. For example, if an installation is going to take more time, it could be because of multiple scenarios. The download at the agent side might be delayed because of the internet connection, or there is another connectivity issue, or the package is literally taking more than 2 hours for the deployment on the computer because of machine slowness, etc. Such scenarios, ensure you increase the time by 3 to 4 hours, which will avoid the timeout error during the deployment. So apart from these settings, we also have few other customization which you can perform, which is pre and post deployment activities. For example, you're going to go with Office installation here, and you need to ensure whether all your endpoints have enough space to go with this deployment. You can select the check free disk space, and you can select the drive of installation, where you can ensure whether like at least of a 10 GB of space is available. Only then you will be proceeding with the installation. Likewise, multiple checks can be included before the installation as well as after the installation. If you'd like to have a script executed after the installation, or you would like to make a registry change after the installation, yes, you can have multiple deployment activities added before and after the installation here. So this is how we manually customize a package, and we add that package under Desktop Central. So now I have already created an MS Office package. Let me select it and let me go ahead with the deployment here. So as usual, please provide the respective name to track the application. It is going to be an installation, and with respect to the deployment policy, I have created a policy for Office 365, which I'm going to select. And our target here. So I'm selecting the remote office, and we have our filter created to select the dynamic custom group. Under dynamic custom group, the Office 365 custom group which we have created is selected. But Office 365 here will be like a huge package. If the users are working from home, who are connected over VPN, consider a scenario where the VPN users are getting downloaded with this package, which is going to be in GBs. That might choke your VPN network if the bandwidth is less. So to avoid such scenarios, you can go ahead with an exclusion here. So you can go to an exclusion IP range and provide your VPN IP range. So whenever a user is on VPN IP range, this installation will not be happening. Only if they connect over internet or if they come into an office network, the installation will be happening. So which will not disturb your internal VPN users work. Okay, so once your target is ready, you may go ahead with the deployment. So this is how the task of deploying the Office 365 can be done by John and his team. So the next task is restrict non-business application installation. Application control to restrict the non-business applications. So to achieve this, we have a feature called Application Control Plus, which is a security add-on of Desktop Central. So we have Vulnerability Manager Plus, Device Control Plus, Application Control Plus, Browser Security Plus, BitLocker, which comes as a security add-on with Desktop Central. And among that, the application control will be helping us with this requirement. So whatever agents you have installed under your Desktop Central, all those agents, applications will be fetched by the Application Control Plus module. And you need to first create the groups of application. You can create a whitelist group as well as a blacklist group. So these groups can be created based on the software product name, the executable name, file hash, or the folder path. So ensure you select it and creating a whitelist and blacklist group. So whitelist is nothing but application that you are allowing in your environment, and blacklist is the application that you want to block in your environment. Now, once our groups are created, you can go ahead with the policy deployment. Click on Associate, where our target here is a custom group. So you can go ahead, select all your computers or select your customized custom group for the deployment of these groups. So I have one of the blacklist groups created. So I'm going to deploy these blacklist group to all my computers. So whenever these applications are detected on the set of computers which I manage, it will not be getting executed. The user will not be able to use it. So what if a scenario where they are going to install a new application? To handle that, we have two modes here, audit and the strict mode. Audit mode is nothing but whatever applications you have blacklisted, only those will be blocked. The whitelisted and the newly added application will be managed by the end users. So whenever there is a new installation, we will be able to see that under the gray list. Under dashboard, you have a gray list executable. So this will list the application which is not on the blacklist and the whitelist part, which is a newly installed applications. Stepping back to the policy. Yeah, audit mode will be helping you with the blocking only the blacklisted application, whereas you have a strict mode over there, which will be allowing you to completely block all the application except the whitelisted. The application only that you allow can be used. Even there is a blacklist or a newly installed application, user will not be able to use it unless you as an admin provide them the rights to use it. So how you get the list of newly listed application? From the gray listed part. So this is how you can manage the whitelisting, blacklisting, and gray listing using the application control plus module of Desktop Central, which comes under a security add-on. The next task is John is receiving a lot of help desk tickets to install various business applications. How this can be minimized? Okay, so to manage the help desk tickets, which has been frequently received, we have a feature called self-service portal, which will be helping you with it. So go to software deployment. And here you have self-service portal, which will be helping you to publish the applications that you have created as a package. So here I have options to publish it to a set of computers and set of users. Now, the packages I have created is listed. I can simply select, drag and drop to publish these applications. So I have two sections here, which says installs without approval, which says requires approval, which means if these applications are published, it doesn't require any approval from the admin. They can directly install it, but these things requires approval. So how the web console will be viewed under the end user is, it looks something like this, where all your applications are listed, which has been published. If it is under not requires approval, the install option will be seen. If it is under requires approval, the request option will be seen. So how we get this category? It's because we have integrated Desktop Central with Service Desk Plus, which is one another ManageEngine product, which will be helping you with the ITSM activities. So once the Service Desk Plus integration is in place, you will be able to see these two sections. And when a user go ahead and click on the request, they will be prompted with a message to enter why they need this application. So they can send this as a request. This request will be created as a ticket on Service Desk Plus. And once the administrator approves this request, it will be updated to our Desktop Central server, which will in turn initiate the installation on the client computers. So this is how the self-service portal-based approval workflow will be happening. And this self-service portal icon can be launched from an agent tray or as a desktop shortcut or from a start menu, which you can enable it under the self-service portal settings. So this is how you will be able to manage the multiple help desk requests you are receiving. So only for a commercial application which are licensed, you can make it as a requester application when we have the service desk plus integration here. Okay, now let's see the common error messages that you will be getting when you are performing a software deployment. First thing is the system cannot find the path specified or access denied. So you will be coming across this error when you create a package using network share. If the share location is not properly provided, or the credential to access the share is not properly updated, or from the client if the share is not accessible, under any of these scenarios, you can see this error. So moving to the HTTP upload method will be resolving this errors. The next is messages related to no silent switch or invalid silent switch. So as I said, Desktop Central will be supporting a silent package installation. So before you create a manual package, please ensure that you test the arguments manually once and then create a package with Desktop Central, which will increase the probability of getting a success rate. You will be able to get the silent arguments from the respective vendor websites or from their support end. So you can test it and then have it updated under Desktop Central. So now let's have a look at the architecture of how Desktop Central work. Desktop Central is a client server model application. You can have Desktop Central server hosted in any one of the supported Windows platform. And you can manage different remote location from one management console. No matter whether the endpoints connect over the internet or using VPN or MPLS connection, you can manage it. Let me help you understand this using the WAN architecture, wide area network architecture of Desktop Central. For machines that are present on the remote site, which is connected over internet, you can use a secure gateway component to securely pass the request. When it comes to remote locations, we have the distribution server, which is used to throttle the bandwidth for the data traffic between the central server and the remote locations here. And you'll be able to manage all your roaming users with mobile phones as well via the secure gateway server. Desktop Central integrates with your Active Directory, which will be helping you with fetching AD objects, which can help you with the agent installation, AD reports, and you can deploy the software patches targeting the AD groups, OUs, and sites. So this is the architecture of how Desktop Central works on a wide area network. Even if you have a closed network, you still can use Desktop Central to manage the closed network. Desktop Central is also available in AWS Marketplace and Azure. In case you're looking to host your Desktop Central in any of the cloud platform, you can make use of AWS or Azure. Desktop Central is now available as a cloud solution, as a SaaS solution. You may sign up for a trial using desktopcentral.manageengine.com, which is shown on the bottom of the screen. Since it's an agent server architecture application, agent installation here is mandatory. So we provide you 3 different methods to facilitate the agent installations. First is via group policy startup script in your Active Directory. You can simply download the application, set up it, and push it using a group policy. We do have an automatic agent installation directly from Web Console. You can add multiple domains, choose the machines from those domains, and do a push install of agents as well. We also have script that you can use. You can download the agent manually, execute them directly on a machine. So once the installation is success, it will be immediately reporting back to the Desktop Central server. So with respect to agent installation, we will be talking on greater detail in our upcoming training schedules. So please do register for that. Now let's get into the agent refresh interval, which I was referring on the earlier slides. So Desktop Central can scale from small as well as large network because of this 90 minutes refresh policy. Every agent communicates with Desktop Central server once in 90 minutes. Even if you have 90 machines, 900, or even 9,000 machines, this 90 minutes will be equally divided between them, and each machine will be given a specific time to talk to the server. Now, the server has the intelligence to assign a time for each client to talk to the server. So this is to avoid the network congestion or the downloads that can actually eat up all your bandwidth. So that 90 minutes refresh policy is designed in such a way to split the load evenly and to not cause any damage to your network. Next, we can have a look at the ports. Desktop Central runs on two ports, primarily 8383, 8020, the web server port used for agent server communication. And we have 8027, which is the notification server port. Notification server will be responsible for all the on-demand actions like a path scan, asset scan, remote control, and an immediate deployments that we have seen. Apart from these two ports, there are other optional ports that you need to open. So the important ports are listed on the screen. You can keep the respective ports open as per your requirements. And there are a few other ports as well. You can view them on the link that is shown on the bottom, www.desktopcentral.com/ports. If you have any further questions on ports, you can reach our chat support team for that. So now, like we have discussed so far with respect to the software deployments, use cases, and real-time examples. If you guys come across any questions, you can feel free to use the chat option to raise it with our panel team, so they'll be answering your questions. Now let's move on to our next section, in which we will be discussing few interesting scenarios and solutions with respect to software deployment. First thing, can reinstall the essential application automatically if it gets uninstalled? Yes, you can do this. Let me show you how to do this. So first, when you create a package, you need to ensure that you have made a check. Under pre-deployment activities, we'll provide a file name. Under pre-deployment activity, you have activity called check software. So add this and provide your application name here. So if this application with this latest version is available, then you can skip the installation. If it is not available, then it will proceed with this installation. Consider you have a package with this criteria check. Now go to the packages, select the package with that criteria check, and go ahead with the deployment. So when you deploy this application, you have an execution settings here where it will say apply the configuration of at every startup or every refresh. So on every startup of the machine or every refresh interval once in 90 minutes, this configuration will be tried on all your endpoints, which means it will check to deploy it. So the first thing it will end up is the pre-deployment activity, whether this version application is installed or not. If it is installed, the deployment will be called back. If it is not installed, it will be immediately installing that application. So how many more times the user is going to uninstall it, within next 90 minutes, the check will be done and the installation will be happening automatically. So that's how the first scenario is achieved. Next, is there a way to choose base install of dependency apps? I have an app that needed database installed first. Yes, you can install a dependency app followed by your applications. Let me get back to console. So we'll get into the packages. Here I have my application, which need a DB to be installed first. I'm selecting both and I'm going with the deployment. So both my packages are listed and I need the SQL to be installed first. So I'm moving that to the top. So the priority of how you list it, the installation will happen. Now I can add my targets and go ahead with the deployment, which will first install MS SQL. Followed by that, my application will also get installed. So third scenario, I have a third-party application that does not support silent installation. How can I install it? Okay. And worst case, if you don't have a silent installation, for example, I'm selecting an application and this doesn't have a silent installation. So then you can go ahead to configure install uninstall option and enable this, allow user to interact with installation window. So when you deploy this, this will open up an installation window on the end user so that they can manually go ahead and proceed with the installation. This is one option. Or if you have an AutoWit tool, you can create the script for the steps of installation and you can add that script to your package, which will also perform the silent installation. Scenario 4, I have a set of application including MS Office and CRM deployed for my sales team. I want all new salespeople to have these applications installed on their computer automatically. How can I do this? Okay, so in this scenario, when you add your multiple applications for the respective teams, ensure that you provide the targets either as an OU or a site. For example, let me choose my domain here. Let me clear it to choose my domain. I'm going to filter it. I'm going to choose the respective target. So OU, sites, groups, custom group, which is a static and static unique custom group. Any of these can be selected and you can target it. Now, once the target is done, you need to ensure under configurations, you have configuration settings. In here, make sure these option is enabled. When a computer or user is added to an OU or group, apply the configuration during every system startup or refresh interval. So during this interval, it will check if there is any new object is added to that. Let's take it's a OU group or a static custom group or a static unique custom group. The checks will be done. Once a new machine is added to these groups, the target will be auto updated and these new machines will also be getting the application installed. So this is how scenario 4 can be achieved. Scenario 5, I tried to deploy a business app to a computer, but it failed. Is there a way to troubleshoot it myself? Yes, you can do it. So for example, I'm going to create a package for Skype. I need this app to be installed. So when I create the package, please go to the advanced settings and ensure you have enabled this option, enable login for troubleshooting. Once this is enabled, if this package end up in a failure, this will be creating a dedicated error log for Skype, which looks something like this. So this error log will be providing you a detailed information on how this failure happened. So next scenario is when I create a package using template, what happens if a new version of application is released? So to handle the new version of application, we have an option called auto update templates under the settings of software deployment. So whatever packages I am creating from templates, I'll be able to see it under this and I can enable an auto update option. So if I enable an auto update for the Adobe Flash Player here, whenever the Adobe Flash Player is releasing a new version, and if our team is updating that new version under the templates, the package will be created automatically under the packages section. So I, as an administrator, can see the old packages as well as the new packages, which is auto created. And one another advantage is if you have deployed that Adobe Flash Player in your self-service portal, then that particular published package will be removed. That is, the old will be removed and it will be getting replaced with the new package, which is auto created. So user will always have the latest application, whereas as an administrator, I'll be having the list of old as well as new applications. So this is what the auto update templates will do. And scenario 7, can we perform Windows 7 to 10 upgrade using software deployment? Yes, of course, we can do it. So again, we need to step into the templates to see the Windows 10 upgrade. I'm searching for Windows 10. Here we have a Windows 10 upgrade with a document. So the document is already opened. So you will be provided with the system requirements that is suggested by Microsoft for a machine to run a Windows 10. Once after that, we will be providing the steps of how you can download and extract an ISO from a volume licensing center or Microsoft Software Download Center. So once you extract the ISO, you will be having the setup file. Using the setup file, how you can create a manual package like we created for Office 365. And what is the silent argument to be used for the installation will be available under the package creation section. So once you create a package, you can go ahead with the deployment. In case if you face any failure with the deployment, you have a KB article over here, which will be listing you the possible error code, what is the cause of the error code, and the resolution to it, which is available on the same page of where you can find the steps. So this is how 7 to 10 deployment can be done. Okay, now we are at our last section of the webinar. We'll go through the question and answers with respect to software deployment. What if I don't have a self-service portal link on my menu? How can I find it? If you don't have a self-service portal, then it means you're running a professional edition of Desktop Central. That is, if you click on the license on the top corner, you will be able to see the license type, which will say you which edition you're running. If it is a UEM edition or an enterprise edition, you will be able to see the self-service portal option. With professional edition, self-service portal option is not available. How do you monitor the status of deployment? Like how many workstations have installed versus how many remaining or how many failed. So under software deployment, you have view configurations, which will listing you the configuration that you have deployed. Now, if I select a configuration, that will say me when I have created the configuration, when I have modified it and who deployed it and how many targets I have provided. Configuration details will tell me what configuration it is and which package I have deployed, and execution status will list the machine that is a success, failure, or in progress based on the number of machines that you have added. So this is how you'll be getting to know the status of deployment, and this view is also an exportable view. Third question, if you are using a secure gateway server in our setup, do the external clients still need to connect to the HTTP portal for software, or can they go directly to a network share via secure gateway server? If it is an internet machine, then we don't recommend you to go with a network share because exposing your network share could be vulnerable to your network. So please proceed with the HTTP portal method. Question 4, if I want my software package to be replicated to a remote office, how do I achieve it? So you can achieve this by providing a proper targeting. So under packages, if I select a package, go with the deployment. If I go with the target, ensure you select only the required remote office. Here I have 4 remote office. I can select the required remote office. If I'm going to select the complete domain, then all the remote office under that domain will be initiated with the replication, which will be creating unwanted replication bandwidth consumption. So it's always advisable that you select the required remote office for the effective replication. Question 5, when multiple software are deployed in a sequence, if the first package fails, does it attempt to continue? How is the notification sent back? If the first package fails, it will be calling off the deployment. The next one will not be getting deployed. And you have an enable notification over here, which will send you the status of the deployment. And to get this notification, please ensure under admin, you are enabling the mail server settings. Only if the mail server settings are configured, you will be receiving the email alerts. Question 6. If you configure a schedule and the computer is not online at that time of schedule, will it be in queue to install when the computer comes online? So if it's a schedule-based deployment, the computer is down, then when the next deployment window comes in, the configuration will be getting deployed on that computer. So the deployment will happen on the next deployment window. Question 7. We have 11 technician license on Service Desk Plus, and we have only one technician license on Desktop Central. Is it possible to set the self-service portal with only one technician license on Desktop Central? Yes, you can, because to integrate Service Desk Plus with Desktop Central, we just need one common technician with Service Desk and Desktop Central. So now here we have come to the end of today's training. So hope this session was useful to you. Please do share your feedback and rate us with a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. And stay tuned for our next training, which will be conducted on July 7th for asset management module. And if you guys like our training, please do spread a word on the social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. To get a personalized demo, if you would like to know more on the Desktop Central, the security add-ons, or the features of this product, you can have a one-to-one personalized online demo, which can be scheduled at your convenience. So please do drop your email address with our chat panel. They will be getting back to you to have the schedule done. Thank you all once again for your patience throughout the webinar session. Have a nice day ahead and stay